This video will walk through the after-school management apps that have been built to assist in managing students and their after-school activities. I'm recording this, one, to just show how it works, and two, in hopes that maybe some commercial product will build this kind of functionality in. We use some software currently to do registration, but it doesn't have this level of functionality for attendance and student tracking. So I wanted to record this and show how it works. So this is built in the Microsoft PowerApps platform. It could be built as a web page, it could be built as other things. So when you look at this, I have lots of sections, and this is the management app just used by our after-school management, our after-school manager and our after-school assistant. And so the first thing, of course, is you have to build the classes. So if you go in here, you can see we have our spring trimester, and here's all the classes for that trimester. You can build a new class. You say what room it's in, what time slot. These time slots are relevant to our school, but in the hope in a commercial app, you could configure those time slots. Our classes are from 3:30 to 4:30 or till 5, and then our gardery, which is our after-school care, can be a couple different sections as well, from 3:30 to 6 or from 4:30 to 6, and then just what section it is. And then you have all of the classes that have already been entered for this trimester. You can click on that class and then edit its settings, and that's about it. So you do that once a trimester just to set it up. And then you go into the class rosters. And I'll say at this point, when you're watching this video, you'll notice parts of this are blurred out. I'm going to blur out the student names just for privacy reasons. So if you go into class roster build, you have up at the top what trimester you want to be in, and then what the class name is. And over here, you can see on the right-hand side, you can see the details of that class. And so you can pick a bunch of kids and then hit submit roster, and that will build that roster for that trimester for that class. So this is the most time-consuming process. We have to take this out of our registration software and put it into here. I haven't yet built an import process. If this was part of the registration software, you wouldn't even have to do this. It would just be already there, ready to go. That's one of the reasons why I'd love this to be built into the registration product that we use. Along the same lines, we have class roster edit. So you can look up a roster and then go in and remove kids from that roster. Most likely in the future, I'd merge these two functionalities, but this was just kind of building the functionality as it was needed. Along the same lines, we have gardery rosters. The reason this is on a separate screen is because here you have different time slots, and then you also have different days of the week. Our gardery classes happen every day and have 3 different time slices for those gardery classes, whereas the other classes are predetermined what day of the week, what time slot they're in. So in this case, you have to have that functionality to define what the roster spaces you're doing. And again, this is all put in by the parents during registration, but we're having to kind of recreate it inside this app for management purposes. And the same thing, you have a gardery roster edit, so you can pull up who's in the roster for a given gardery slot and see who's signed up for that. The other thing I have here is a view where you can see what somebody is signed up for the entire week. And so you can see where they are and remove them out of those classes if you want to. The other functionality I built was for camp rosters. Our camp rosters are a little different because it's an all-day camp. So we just go in and pick the day that they want to build the rosters for, and then add all the students over into the roster. And You also have the ability to define, are they going to be here for morning gardery, which is, before the camp officially opens, or afternoon gardery, which is after the camp closes, and those both have additional costs to them. So that's, the level of tracking that we need is, are they here for the standard thing? Are they here for extra things that need to have extra charges? That kind of thing. Back to home. The other thing is we have, drop-ins. So on any given day, a parent may call us at noon and say, hey, my kid needs to go to gardery today. So we have that ability here where we go in and we can add all the kids to gardery for today, and add them in to allow our room managers to know what students are going to be in their room. And the same thing along those lines, you have to be able to edit that. So we can go in and edit who's on the list for today's drop-in, and then also the drop-in future. So sometimes we have parents who tell us, oh, next week on Tuesday, somebody's going to be in gardery drop-in, and so we allow that functionality to put them in the future. Again, these screens could probably be refined and merged together, but the way I built it was, as we've figured out the functionality, I built a screen to allow for that functionality. Anomaly attendance is just something so you can review who didn't sign out properly. So yesterday we can see there was some students who didn't sign out properly, and that allows us to see what's going on with them. And then on the sign out app, you'll see shortly we actually capture signatures. So this screen allows you to go in and view the signatures and also the picture of who signed out. So we use iPads and we use the front-facing camera on the iPad to take a small picture and then also capture a signature for when the student signs out. And then the last piece of the management app is the reporting. So depending on if the child is here beyond their pre-registered things, we need to bill them for it. If they were only registered to 4:30 and they stayed till 5:15, we need to charge them for that overage. Or if they are here after 6 p.m., which is when we officially close, we charge them per minute for those overages as well. So we went in and we built a screen that will do that calculation for us. Previously, this was all done on paper, so somebody had to go through and manually collate all the overages on a daily basis and combine those into a spreadsheet, and then combine the per day into a monthly bill, and then put all that into our billing system. Now we have it report all in one spreadsheet automatically, and then we have a detailed view if a parent requests it to show what they did. So, again, if this was built into the registration program, that would just be an automatic billing process. And then we have a similar thing just to build all the bills for the students. I'm not going to run this because it does take about a minute or two to run because it's processing thousands and thousands of attendance records. So that is the back-end management tool for our after-school program. And then next I will go into kind of how attendance is taken and how parents sign in and sign out. Our second app is to do the actual attendance on a daily basis. So when you go in as a room manager or the after-school manager who looks at all the classes, you go in and you can take attendance for a particular section. So you click into the attendance section, you select which trimester you want, and then which class, and look it up, and then they're there, and you can mark students as present or absent, as well as adding new students into the list that weren't on the list as they should have been. You can also see how many were absent, how many were present, how many were on the original roster, all sorts of details about the class. This list automatically filters students who have been marked present in some other class or were picked up during our car pickup process. If for some reason those were an error, you can click this checkbox and it will show all the students and then highlight those who have been marked for some other purpose to do that. And then you would just take attendance, it marks them all present, and enables them to be signed out later by their parents. Along the same vein, we have tardy pickup, and that's basically students who weren't picked up during the car pickup process, but we weren't told in advance that they were going to be picked up, or were going to be left, I should say. So at 3:45, whoever's still left waiting to be picked up, they get all marked as tardy pickup, and then get sent to the appropriate gardery room. And then at the end of the day, we also have bus dismissal. So we have several bus routes, and so when the buses are being loaded at approximately 5 p.m., they will mark all the students as being dismissed to the bus. That's because there isn't a standard sign-out procedure because their parents aren't here to pick them up. So this is essentially signing them out for that day to the bus. In the near future, this will automatically pull in the bus rosters. That's another piece of the management that I haven't built yet, is the bus roster management. And then the last thing is absent, and that's if you mark a student absent in a class when taking attendance, but then they show up later or there was an accident. This list would show all the students who had been marked absent that day, and you can easily just mark them present. It knows where they were supposed to have been, and you can just click on them and then put them in as present for whatever activity they were supposed to be there for. So that's the daily attendance from the room managers and the after-school manager. The next app is the app used by our front desk to monitor who's coming in and going out. I'm actually showing the camp version of the app because we're on a camp day today, so there'll actually be some data there to work with. So there's two versions of the screen. One is you can go in and see who hasn't signed in yet and was expected to sign in, and who has signed in and what time they signed in, and you can scroll down and see all the details of that. This also allows the front desk person to sign in somebody who for some reason didn't sign themselves in, or sign them back out if for some reason they got signed in accidentally. So they can kind of move people back and forth between the two lists. And then in the same vein is just kind of the reverse, is the afternoon sign out. So you can see here's all the students who have signed in today, and nobody signed out yet because it's only 9 o'clock in the morning, but they can scroll down and see that. And again, if a parent just walks out of the building with their child and doesn't sign them out, they can sign them out for them. We try our best to have the parents do that appropriately, but every once in a while something happens and they don't get signed out. So for tracking purposes, we sign them out so we know who's in the building and who's not in the building. And that's kind of an important detail to this whole process, that using this app, we can pretty well see who's on campus and who's not on campus in an after-school setting. We're pretty good about that during the normal school day using our attendance in our student information systems, but that is a harder thing to do in our after school, where there's kids coming and going and in non-standard or not in their classrooms. So this allows us at a glance to see who's on campus right now, and or when did they leave, so we know in an emergency who's here and who's not. This last app allows the parents to sign out. So this app is traditionally run on an iPad at the front desk, or multiple iPads. And so the parent comes up and they can type in a name to search for the kid, or they can just pick them from the list here. And this list is dynamic based upon who was signed in today. So, only that narrow list of who they are. They pick the students. They can pick multiple, if it's a family of 2, 3, 4, and get them all on the list there. They click continue, and then they have a box to sign out, and they hit sign out. It's and that's it. And then they we have a timestamp, accurate timestamp of when they left, rather than the time that they just randomly make up and write into the box. And then we also have a capture of their signature, and we have a small low resolution picture of whoever signed out. Again, these are all kind of just security measures, and also verification. It's not that somebody's reviewing it, but we have it. And so that's kind of the end of the app process. And the hope is that maybe someday somebody will build this level of functionality into a commercial product, so that I don't have to keep building it myself. Thanks.